Hey, Regina here, and I want to take you through the foundations of building out your business model by basically deciding your product model. I like to do this through something I call the product pyramid. I've developed it and added layers over the years, and I think that it's a really simple yet sophisticated way to kind of figure out what your business model will be and also come up with a lot of great ideas for how to attract, delight an audience, and then serve them with paid products or services. Okay. So here are a few things to keep in mind with this product pyramid. I'm going to show you how to use it. You'll be able to make your own copy by pressing File, Make a Copy, and then you can store this in your own Google Drive, and you'll be able to double click and fill in these areas with your own content. Okay. But let me just orient you to the basics of what's going on here. So this bottom layer of magnetic content or share content is basically what I like to call the popular layer. This is where the majority of people will come into contact with your brand. Most people don't come into contact with your brand for the first time with your premium or high-end products or your very personalized products, right? They're going to come in on free content, content that's been shared with them, et cetera, usually, right? And so that's why the bottom of the pyramid is bigger. More people, less people will move up to the next layer, and then even fewer people will move up to that top layer. And that's fine. That's kind of the way things are supposed to be. That's the way things work. But this bottom layer I call popular. The middle layer is practical because it's, usually at a price point that makes sense for a good portion of your audience. And then this top layer is called personal. You could even call it premium. So popular, practical, personal, or premium. All right. So we're going to fill in all of these areas with ideas for your brand. The other thing to note is that the left side of our pyramid is going to be content or products that don't have people-based constraints. And what I mean by this is that, whether one person takes part or 77 or 70,000 take part, that it's not based on how many people. Like, you don't need it to be multiple people for the product to look okay and function okay. So for example, when you have a group program that you're selling, if only one person buys the group program, it's not really a group program. So that would be over here on the right side, which does have people-based constraints. And you'll see when we hop over to our product list a little more of what I mean about that. Okay. So back here, what we're going to do is fill all three layers, really six if you count the division here, but all three layers of personal, practical, and then, popular, practical, and then personal or premium with ideas for your business. Okay. So I'm going to fill this in with a side business that I have, and to just kind of help illustrate the point, right? So I have a main business, but then on the side, right, I'm a registered yoga teacher, and I'm working on creating basically what is personal development materials related to or using yoga, and then also using writing, two things that I'm really passionate about. Okay. So in order to do this, I would look through, okay, what can I do for my popular content? This is going to be where most people come into my brand and are drawn into what I do. So I'm going to pop over to my list here, and this column here is the popular column. You'll see that this top one is the one that has no people-based constraints. And the bottom one, the bottom part of this column is the one with people constraints, but it may or may not have time constraints. So obviously, time constraints is probably self-explanatory. But typically you'll see that, right, if you're doing an in-person event, or if you're doing a mastermind, over here in the personal or premium category, this is going to have a demand on your time in order to provide the service, right? Whereas something like, let's look for it, maybe you might have a community that you're running, and this community might be kind of like a self-led community in that you don't have to come in, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 5 hours in order to run the community. You might come in and put a few prompts, but the community might kind of be self-led as far as discussions or certain prompts on certain days. And so it doesn't have a huge time constraint or any time constraint at all, depending on how you run it. You might even have hired people to manage it for you. So that's just an example of what we mean by time constraints. But anyway, so I'm going to be filling in my bottom layer here, this popular layer, with magnetic content, no people-based constraints, and then share content, which does have constraints. So one of the things I want to do for this brand is create challenges. Now, the thing is, I have this here listed under people constraints because I am talking about like challenges that you might run live. You might create a Facebook group for them, or you might not. You might create some other kind of group where people can, be interacting with each other, or you might create some specific hashtag that people can use on Instagram in order to take part in your challenge. And that kind of gives it a people constraint, because it would be weird if only one person is in the Facebook group that you created, or only one person is using the hashtag on Instagram and you meant for it to be a group kind of, event. So instead, I'm actually going to add a row up here. So I'm going to press insert, row below, and I'm going to add challenges here, but I'm specifically talking about self-directed ones that don't, require a community in order to run well, right? So this might be a challenge that somebody gets delivered to their email, once a day for 5 days straight, or every other day, every 3 days for 30 days, whatever it might be. So that's going to be one thing that I put over here. Let's press file, and then let's make a copy, and then let's give it a new name, and we'll just call this Regina's Yoga Business. And I'll press OK. And now I have my awesome new copy, and I'm going to put challenges over here. But what I want you to do is be more specific than, just going to this list and grabbing 7 ideas that you like and then typing them into the correct place. That's not going to be as useful as if you select the very few ideas that you think will work well and you get a little more specific. So I'm actually not going to say challenges. It's just going to be one challenge. And I want to do a challenge that's like helping people with a bit better relationship with themselves using writing prompts. I can spell writing prompts and yoga, such as meditation and breath work. So we're not going to be doing like the asanas necessarily, like the poses in yoga or the physical parts of yoga in this particular challenge. So that's kind of what I'm thinking as one of the pieces of magnetic content that doesn't have people-based constraints, okay? So then back over to this list, I do want to kind of look at some of the things that do have people-based constraints. Do I want to hold Q&A sessions, virtual office hours? Do I want to do like a live challenge with a lot of people, or live detox or cleanse with a lot of people, webinar that's live that a lot of people would attend, podcast episodes with guests? Do I want to start a podcast? These are different questions that obviously you're going to want to ask yourself. For me, for right now, since this is my I won't even say it's my second brand. It's one of a few, but since this is a side brand, I'm not interested in creating a whole podcast right now for it, because I also don't need it to be creating a full-time income for me. So, one of the things that I will consider is building a community where people can interact with each other, and kind of share their writing prompts and all of that. And another thing that I will consider is doing some Facebook Lives, which the only reason this has like a people-based constraint is because obviously you're going to need people viewing this and maybe even sharing it for it to really kind of take off. You can make a Facebook Live that only one person views, and that would be fine. It would still be content. It would still be useful for that one person. But I've put it here under the people-based constraints because it works better when you have people viewing it. So I'm going to put community and Facebook Lives over here. And these are just considerations. These are not as decided as my challenge is. So community, and this might be something to complement if we can spell the challenge. So maybe I'll actually run the challenge live and make it more of a people-based constraint thing at some point. Or maybe I'll open this up after my first, 50 participants in the kind of self-directed challenge. I'll invite them all to this community assuming that at least a portion of them will join. So you might set a different number for yourself. I might say 100. And then over here, our other idea was that I might do some Facebook Live episodes. So Facebook Lives. I like Facebook Lives because you can also repurpose them maybe as ads if you want. So I might kind of create some of the days of the self-directed challenge as Facebook Lives, and then invite people to join the full challenge at the end of the live, or towards the beginning, middle, and end of the live. So Facebook Lives take some of the content of the challenge and make it alive. And then consider, let me fix the spelling here, it's going to bother me. Consider turning the best episodes into ads to grow my audience, to expand my audience. Okay, so I might have that. All right. And then let's talk about moving up. So we have basically what is considered our popular content kind of decided. Now, again, because this is a side brand for me, I am going to maybe be making some different decisions here than you would if this was your full-time brand and you're trying to make a full-time income within 6 months, 12 months. You might make some different decisions here. One key thing that I would recommend is obviously considering, heavily using an engaging platform like Instagram. And myself, for this brand, I do have an Instagram account and will be using Instagram in unique ways that I'll come back and kind of include in this product pyramid later once I figure out what really works. For now, I would probably say that I will be using, let me put this here, Instagram stories pretty heavily. And then my regular Instagram gallery where I post images is another place that I will be, kind of posting things that would get people interested in the content of the challenge and link them back to the challenge, direct them back to the challenge. Okay. So that's going to be, the end of my popular piece of this for now, but yours might look a lot different. Okay. So now I'm going to move up to no-brainer products, and this is the area that we like to call practical, okay? So you'll see here that this is typically priced low to what I like to call medium, right? $1 to $3, and your personal products would be $3 to $5. So this is just a general rating system that I'm trying to use to show you, low to medium, medium to high, true high investment, okay? So for me, I already know that what I want to do with the practical portion is a continuation of what I did for my popular content. So what I want to offer to people as a paid product is really a starter course in the form of a paid challenge. So a starter course, is just something that is small in scope. And I'm going to put it over here in no people-based constraints because one person can buy the course, or 1 million people can buy it and it will function the same way. It doesn't require a lot of people in order for it to work. It doesn't even require, multiple people to buy it at the same time in order for it to work, right? Whereas if I was running it as a live group program or something like that, it would be weird if there was only one person in it. So starter course is going to be a paid challenge. That's a continuation of the free challenge. Okay, so that's going to be what I choose. And let me also highlight paid challenge because that's the form of starter course that it really is. Again, something that's small in scope, easy to use for your clients, and gives them some, specific outcome or small wins that encourage them, increase self-efficacy, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I'm going to do over here for no-brainer product, something that I will consider for the future, but not right now because I don't want to try to focus on learning how to sell two different things at the same time. But something I'll consider for the future is a subscription service. And the subscription service doesn't have people-based constraints because if you think of it like a subscription box, it doesn't matter. I mean, for your business model, right, it matters. You don't want to create a whole subscription service and just be delivering it to one person. But as far as outer appearances are concerned, right? If one person or only 5 people are subscribed to your subscription service at first while you're learning to sell it, it's not a big deal because it's not like a group product. People don't know how many other people are buying it. So a subscription service for me might look like, weekly or monthly meditations and, challenges sent out to however many people are subscribed to it. Now, unless it has a community or some other, live component or group component to it, again, it won't matter how many people are subscribed. So I'm going to save this for the future. This is what I'm going to be focused on right now. And then lastly, I'm going to move up to this kind of premium or personal tier. I'm going to personally, for me, I'm going to leave this one empty. I'm not going to be doing anything on this level of practical that has people-based constraints. But those ideas would be things like group coaching, maybe a paid community, conferences that you host, maybe summits. And actually that is an interesting idea to consider for the future, is maybe some kind of online summit or conference where other experts, on the topics can get together and provide tips. So that might be something I consider for the future. But again, I would be focused on this right now. And then finally, let's get to that top tier of personal or premium. I don't want to do any coaching for this brand, retainer clients. I don't want to do freelance yoga work for people. I'm not doing consultations right now. I'm not developing a premium course for this. So this whole side of the pyramid of kind of premium personal programs that have people-based constraints, it's a lot of P's in there. I'm just going to delete that for me. For you, that might be the most sensible place and the best place to make your money, especially if you're running your business full time and trying to create a full-time income out of it in the next 6 to 12 months. Doing freelance work, doing coaching work, doing consultations might be ideal for you. For me, I am going to actually look at in-person events and masterminds. So my thoughts are to kind of build a community of people who have taken the free challenge, the paid challenge, and are working on personal development and really like the angle of writing and yoga, using writing and using breath work and using meditation to do kind of this personal development stuff. So what I might want to do is when I have kind of created an audience around this, and I would need to be, in my opinion, I would want to be aggressive about that and really go out and manually engage on Instagram every day, and et cetera, to kind of build this audience. There are a number of ways to do it. You could do ads, you could do Facebook, you could be on LinkedIn. It really depends on your brand. But I'm going to look forward to maybe inviting those people to, maybe a once or twice a year in-person event. Maybe there's an in-person event every quarter or more, depending on where I live or where I want to travel and do these. And then also maybe think about a virtual mastermind where people who are deep into this personal development thing and have really enjoyed the process that I take them through with this brand, actually providing a space for them virtually to gather with each other, maybe a couple weeks in a month to kind of grow with each other. And maybe there would be a specific schedule or theme for all of these meetings. So it's not quite a group program where we're all trying to, learn something and accomplish something in a very similar way to each other, but more kind of learning and adjusting based on who is there and what the topics, kind of form into. So in-person events and masterminds. And obviously I could keep in mind speaking engagements and things like that. But these would be the two that I would be interested for this particular business or brand right now. So in-person, let's say yoga and writing retreats. I'll say retreats singular. And then consideration for the future is a monthly mastermind. Okay. So again, I think that this would be the best version of this is when you actually fill it in with details. So I didn't just say challenge. I said, this challenge is going to be, for example, a 3-day challenge or whatever to develop a better relationship with themselves. And my starter course is probably going to be a 21 or a 30-day challenge, right? I could write those details in. I'm not going to write them in right now and waste your time, but you guys get the point. It's better to add details. So even when you're saying, okay, you're going to do an in-person yoga and writing retreat, How many days do you have in mind? What's the goal outcome for people? What would people do in the monthly mastermind? Can you write down example themes for the month in your community that you're thinking of creating? What would be the example categories and topics that people can talk about? What are some of the prompts and things that you would do in there with your Facebook Lives? Oh, you're going to take some of the content of the challenge. Okay, give us an example. The more clear and specific you can be, I think the better these materials and products are going to be as you develop them. Okay, so that is how you fill this out. You will grab this template, press file, make a copy, name it whatever you want, store it in your free Google Drive account, and then start to double click and record your ideas based on our product idea list over here. So this column A, applies to the bottom layer of our pyramid, okay, the popular content. Column B, obviously practical, applies to the middle layer of our pyramid. And then column C, as you probably have guessed, personal or premium, applies to this top layer of our pyramid, okay? I hope that overview helped, and I hope you enjoy filling out your product pyramid.